In the 7th year of our marriage, Alan Landor set off fireworks across the city to celebrate his mistress's birthday. Are you angry? He called to placate me, his voice laced with lazy amusement. She's young, childish, he said. Just let her have her way. As Alan spoke these words, I was entangled with his best friend. Send a copy of the plan to my assistant later. I'll arrange the same for my boyfriend. There was a moment of silence on the other end, followed by the sound of glass shattering on the floor. Later, Alan dragged his feet about the divorce. Leave him, won't you? His eyes were red, his smile forced and ugly. Or let him be your secret lover. I can accept anything, just don't leave me. Ding! This novel reminds you to click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner to read the complete novel. Mabel Paxton wasn't the first mistress to make a scene in front of me. But she was the one who had been by Alan Landor's side the longest. She went on and on for half an hour, telling me their earth-shattering love story. I propped my head up with one hand, listening fairly attentively, nodding and agreeing from time to time. Should we book a cottage by Lake Windermere in advance? Which is more beautiful, the northern lights in Norway or the tulip fields at Keukenhof? For a Christmas holiday trip, which place do you think is more suitable? Mabel gradually came to her senses. Don't think that by saying this, I'll back down. Her eyes reddened as she bit her lip, defending her love. Like a delicate white flower swaying in the wind, Alan promised to spend New Year's Eve with me. Give up hope. Just because you can keep him by your side doesn't mean you can win his heart. You may have his body, but you'll never have his soul. I was stunned by her shouting. What would I want with Alan's body and soul? I'm more afraid of catching something than she is. I gradually realized. Alan apparently hadn't made clear to Miss Paxton about our marriage in name only. Mabel got overly emotional, with big tears rolling down her cheeks. She was truly afraid I would steal Alan from her. After all, from a legal standpoint, I was Alan Landor's lawful wife. From a sentimental perspective, Alan and I were childhood sweethearts. The romance he gave to Mabel, I had received before. What he never gave Mabel, I had also received. Unfortunately, the validity of promises only lasts for the moment they're made. It took me many years to understand this truth. Mabel's tears splashed onto my arm. Rather dirty. I sighed and stood up, intending to get some tissues. The door was suddenly kicked open. Alan, who should have boarded his flight, appeared hurriedly at the doorway. Today's rain was heavier than on the day Eliza confronted her father for money. It had been about half an hour since Alan received the news. The drive from the airport would take at least an hour. He must have floored it, speeding the whole way. Outlaw. Alan. Mabel whimpered, looking at him expectantly. Alan strode forward with long steps. His brow furrowed with anger and anxiety he didn't even realize. He embraced Mabel in an absolutely protective stance. His arm brushed past me, knocking me back onto the sofa. Are you mad? I said bluntly, frowning. Alan ignored me. He looked Mabel over from head to toe, and after ensuring she was perfectly fine, let out an almost imperceptible sigh of relief. Why are you crying? If you knew to be afraid, why did you dare come here? His tone was harsh, but his gesture of wiping Mabel's tears with his knuckles was gentle. So delicate. The young master and his mistress were treating me like an NPC. I felt a bit irritated, lit a cigarette, and pulled out my phone. The screen unlocked, showing the message from my secretary. Ms. Archer, the items weren't accepted, and the flowers were returned. He said, he'd only speak with you, and told us to sod off. Look at his mistress. Clingy and providing full emotional value. Then look at mine. I got even more annoyed. Alan managed to send Mabel away. The young girl had come to confront me with a do-or-die courage, and she was quite stubborn. She seemed to have a lot more to say. But when her eyes met Alan's slightly cold gaze, she swallowed her words obediently. Alan sat down on the sofa opposite me. He stretched out his long legs casually, one hand supporting his chin, his fingertips pressing against his well-shaped brow bone. Effie, she's just a young girl, Alan said, warning me. I snorted, narrowing my eyes through the cigarette smoke. A bit naive about the ways of the world, I said. Well, young girls don't understand all the complexities, he lazily raised an eyebrow. That necklace I outbid you for last time, shall I have it sent to you tomorrow? I tapped off some ash, non-committal. The North Town project, give me another 3% discount, I said. Didn't we settle that project last month? Alan frowned, your side already has the lion's share. I couldn't be bothered with him. It's not like he's the only one in the world with a mistress to placate. My silence meant there was no room for negotiation. Alan grew a bit frustrated. He knew my methods. After all, before Mabel, there were quite a few precedents. The first girl who dared to challenge me face to face was in her early 20s, wearing a red dress like a rose. She arrogantly smashed my car, saying Alan would pay for it. She even said the unloved one was the real mistress. Now she's operating a sewing machine in prison. I've had my share of rows with Alan. After all, when I married him, I was still a romantic. The first time he cheated, I filed for divorce. Later, due to certain circumstances, the divorce didn't go through. Alan begged me, groveling. He leaned over me, hands on either side of the sofa, looking up at me. It reminded me of when he confessed to me in our final year of high school. Back then, he looked up at me the same way, his usually carefree eyes full of nervousness. Darling. My queen. Come on, give me a straight answer, stop stringing me along. You'll break my heart, love. But once is never enough. Cheating raised the threshold for excitement, and Alan broke his promises again and again. He gradually became more adept at it. He could calmly tell me that this was just how things were in our circle, even as I lost control, questioning him through tears. He could also step in front of me when an impulsive mistress tried to stab me. Then, with a vicious air, he'd grab her by the throat and warn, "Who do you think you are, daring to touch my wife?" I could never understand why Alan was so mad. Before, I truly didn't understand. Now, I can't be bothered to understand. Fine. Alan gave in to my tugging and grudgingly agreed to my demand for a discount. As the smoke cleared, his face became clearer. It really was different from when he was 17 or 18. Alan turned me from a beautiful young wife into a cold-hearted witch. Later, he even tried to make me a discarded trophy wife. That period of being on edge, breaking down at the slightest provocation, only able to sleep with the help of quetiapine fumarate tablets, is the time I least want to remember. Even I found myself repulsive. It's impossible to say I don't resent him. Now that I've fully taken control and secured my position on the board of directors, this tawdry drama has played out long enough to be utterly tedious. I walked over to Alan. I extinguished my cigarette on his chest. The smile froze on Alan's face as he instinctively tensed up. Find a time to finalize the divorce, I said calmly, grinding the cigarette butt. Alan didn't respond. He resumed his usual nonchalant expression. Gripping my wrist, he pressed the still warm cigarette butt into his chest again. Feeling better now? He asked. I've been too busy lately and neglected you. Let's go on holiday for Christmas, shall we? I know you don't like the cold, so we could go somewhere warmer. Alan, I said, narrowing my eyes, my voice as cold as ice. I said, let's find a time to get divorced. Within a week, I'll have my assistant sort out our assets and draft a divorce agreement. If you have any objections, you can contact me then. And stop talking to me like that. I'm not one of your little pets. Only those cheap playthings would lose their bearings over a few sweet words. Those in power would only feel insulted. Reason? Alan's smile faded. Just because of some fireworks? Fireworks? I paused, only then remembering the incident. A week ago was Mabel's birthday. Alan had gone all out for her celebration, setting off fireworks across the city. 520 drones had formed changing shapes in the night sky, spelling out Mabel Paxton's name. Alan had always been flamboyant in his actions, especially when he was infatuated with someone, indulging them to the point of spoiling. In our 3rd year of marriage, his first publicly acknowledged mistress came to flaunt herself before me. The girl wore a red dress, clutching a bouquet of roses. She danced barefoot on the roof of my car. The body was splashed with large patches of paint, ruining it beyond recognition. That car was Alan's coming-of-age gift to me. It was also the most expensive gift I had received since being brought back to the Archer family from the countryside. That period, that version of me, and that car. They all held special meaning. I was so angry my eyes turned red, and I told security to call the police to get her down. Alan stopped me. He held up his phone with one hand, recording the girls' uninhibited dance moves. His eyes full of admiration. Young girls are raised delicately, they tend to act impulsively. "Why are you being so harsh?" he said. "It's just a car. It's not like you can't afford another one. Pick out a new one, I'll pay for it from my personal account." Consider it my apology on her behalf. I must say, over the years, Alan has given quite a few girls the illusion that they were irreplaceable to him, causing no small amount of harm. "It has nothing to do with the fireworks," I said. "I'm seeing someone else." I spoke as calmly as if I were casually commenting on the nice weather. "Impossible. Remember that time at Flame Club? You can't do it, Effie." Alan's smile was confident. After the dancing girl was kicked off my car, I slapped both her and Alan. As I was about to strike again, Alan caught my hand. The girl seized the opportunity to furiously hit my face with a rose. The thorns that weren't properly trimmed left bloody scratches on my face. "The one who isn't loved is the mistress. Get a divorce soon, old lady." I struggled desperately, wanting to tear her mouth apart. Even when I sprained my wrist, I couldn't break free from the restraint. Alan didn't refute her words, nor did he stop her outburst. After returning home, I smashed everything I could and demanded a divorce. "What did you say back then? What the hell did you say at our wedding? And when you first cheated, you begged me to give you a chance. You said not to divorce, that it wouldn't happen again." "Fine, I believed you, and what's the result? Alan Landor, are you a beast? How could you do this to me?" I screamed hysterically. My reflection in the floor-to-ceiling window looked like a century-old bitter wife. Alan leaned against the railing, watching my meltdown with near indifference. "Effie, this is how our circle works. You need to learn to accept it. You can go out and find someone too. Wouldn't an open marriage be good for us? You're not a child anymore, why do you still believe in fairy tales? As for divorce, Effie, you can't leave me." I felt as if I had been suddenly submerged in ice water. During that time, I indeed couldn't leave Alan. My mother was the original wife of the Archer family. After the mistress took over, she voluntarily asked for a clean break. I was raised in the countryside for many years. It took almost all my efforts to squeeze into the power center of the Archer family. In the power struggle, those illegitimate children ganged up to suppress me. I had to admit that I relied on Alan's influence. I thought the talk of an open marriage was just casual. Unexpectedly, the next day, Alan took me to Flame Club. "Effie, you should try it." He lined up 20 male models for me. A warm hand rested on my shoulder. Someone called me honey and placed a tentative kiss on the corner of my lips. I met a pair of fawning, ingratiating eyes. An indescribable strangeness filled my heart. This strangeness reached its peak when I caught Alan's playful gaze. I abruptly pushed that person away and turned to vomit. "Alan Landor, you're truly disgusting." I said this, my face pale from vomiting, and fled in near panic. After this incident, Alan never mentioned letting me find someone else again. He seemed to have accepted that I couldn't break through my moral bottom line. But people can change. A thunderclap rolled out a rumbling sound. My thoughts were pulled back to the present. Think what you want, but I'm not joking about the divorce. If you don't agree, I'll go through legal proceedings. After all, I have plenty of evidence of your infidelity from over the years. If it comes to that, both our family's stock prices will be affected. Think it through carefully. I finished speaking, picked up my coat and car keys, ready to leave. "It's raining so hard, where are you going?" Alan couldn't smile anymore. "The weather's bad, I'm going to keep my boyfriend company," I said. "It's been stormy weather lately." As I came up from the underground car park, I shivered from the cold. Just as I entered, a figurine came flying at my face. I quickly dodged it. I said I don't want. Crispin's brow was furrowed with anger. Seeing it was me, his voice cut off abruptly. So you finally decided to come back. He instinctively stepped towards me, then stiffly stopped himself. His beautiful fingers pressed against his reddened eyes. I pulled him down to sit on the sofa. I've been too busy these past few days, didn't have time for you. Half a month ago was Crispin's birthday. I had promised early on to spend it with him. But it happened to coincide with a business trip, so I missed it. Last week I said I'd make it up to him, keep him company for 3 days. Then that bastard Alan's fireworks scandal broke out. And I had to deal with the media and elders from both families. I broke my word again. Crispin wore a white silk shirt, pressed into the corner of the sofa by me. This sofa was one I had personally chosen. Big enough. The Northtown project is being followed up by me, the landlords and your sister. Alan has agreed to give up another 30% profit. I'll give half of that to your sister. I continued to coax him. The Gallagher family situation was similar to the Archers. A mess. Illegitimate children sprouting up like weeds. Crispin's mother was the original wife. He never had to worry about money growing up, and studied oil painting, which he loved. When Alan brought me into their circle, Crispin left the deepest impression on me. Cold and aloof like a bloody celestial being. A year ago, Crispin's mother committed suicide without warning, leaving behind her son and daughter. They were quickly driven out of the family home, most of their assets eaten away. Crispin had decided to kill himself the day he met me. And then, he became my gilded caged bird. You smell like him, Crispin suddenly spoke, his eyelids tinged pink. You always try to appease me with money. Jewelry, cars, shares were never what I wanted. Do you think I'm no different from those for sale outside, for my sister's sake, MMPH? I gently bit his lower lip. Those things aren't for buying you, they're for coaxing you. Crispin stared at me dazedly. His eyes still rimmed with red. He was so incredibly beautiful, that almost crying look inspiring both pity and a perverse desire to utterly ruin him, make him sob uncontrollably. A cruel, terrifying love and lust. What am I going to do with you, Effie? Crispin's voice was so low it was barely audible. I was silent for a moment, then said, I'm planning to divorce Alan. Crispin's eyes shot up. You're lying to me again. He seemed to think of something, his expression darkening. You emotional con artist. He really was adorable. I felt something swell in my chest, unable to stop my eyes from crinkling in a smile. How is this lying to you? My hand slipped under his shirt. This is coaxing you. We pressed tightly together, I could feel his body rapidly heating up. He instinctively arched his back. His cheek brushed against mine. Don't tease. His alluring cries were driving me crazy. Crispin was particularly good at moaning. His voice was beautiful too. A stark contrast to his outwardly cold demeanor. Stop pretending to be proper. Crispin caressed my waist and back, his breathing ragged. His voice carried waves of scorching heat. You like hearing it. TSK. Another little kink discovered. Once I was certain about proceeding with the divorce, Crispin's joy became visibly apparent. When he's happy, he's easy to please. I took him out shopping and for dinner, picking out a few outfits for him along the way. Throughout, I kept feeling as if someone was secretly watching me. I glanced back a couple of times but didn't notice anything unusual. In the underground car park, Crispin sat in the passenger seat, tilting his head back to drink water. His Adam's apple moved gently. His lips were moist, glistening with water. When expressionless, he looked cold and aloof. My gaze wandered down to the faint marks on his neck. The thought that such a seemingly frigid and proper person could be so wild and private sent electric tingles through my heart. Crispin curled his fingers to wipe the moisture from his lips. He glanced at me. Enticed, I leaned in and kissed him. My phone buzzed incessantly at the most inopportune moment. I impatiently pressed the lock button twice. Hung up. It rang again. This cycle repeated. Who is it? They'd better have a good reason. I grabbed my phone and irritably looked at the screen. Alan Landor. Damn, even more annoying. Crispin saw it too. He narrowed his eyes and unbuttoned the first button of his shirt. What is it? I answered the call, one hand playing with Crispin's fingers. Who are you with right now? Alan's voice was tinged with anger. Crispin undid the second button, revealing his shapely collarbone and part of his chest. I couldn't take my eyes off him after one glance. It's none of your business. If you have something to say, say it. If not, I'm hanging up. The divorce agreement is being drafted. Someone's already gone to inventory the properties today. Don't rush me. Checking up on me when we're about to divorce. Ridiculous. I haven't agreed to the divorce. Alan's voice lowered further, as if he was gritting out the words. Crispin unbuttoned the third button. He wasn't used to doing this in public, frowning slightly with a hint of red on his cheeks. His beautiful, strong, pale muscles were flushed, covered in kiss marks and fingerprints. He gently bit the tip of my finger. Then he guided my hand to his chest. His eyes held a provocative challenge. He let out very soft, deliberate breaths for me to see. Whether you agree or not, I have my ways. Hanging up now. Can't you tell I'm busy, you clueless git? Wait. If you really want a divorce, let's talk first. Are you coming home tonight? I might have been imagining it, but I thought I detected a hint of caution in Alan's voice. If it came to a court divorce, I'd lose quite a bit in terms of time, energy, and money. An amicable divorce would be the most dignified approach. I considered for a moment, let's meet at 4 this afternoon. I could still drive back after our talk. Alan wanted to say more. I'm busy, stop bothering me. We'll talk this afternoon. I hung up first. In 0 frames, I pressed against the passenger seat. Who could resist this? When I arrived in the afternoon, Mabel was already there. Bringing your mistress to divorce proceedings? How is that any different from flipping me off? I frowned, but before I could speak, I was interrupted. I've got it all on camera, Miss Archer. You and your affair partner. I raised an eyebrow, looking at Alan. So what? Did he think he could extort more money from me with this? Mabel took out her phone, showing photos of Crispin and me in intimate poses. One of them was particularly well captured. Crispin and I were at a cat cafe. I thought he looked as adorable as a kitten. I had my arm around his waist, grinning widely. He was protectively holding my back, trying to look composed but unable to hide a slight smile. I wanted to use it as my wallpaper. Mabel, fearing I couldn't see clearly, opened the live photo. A bitter retch was clearly audible. She quickly put her phone away, not daring to meet my eyes. But she still stubbornly defended her love. If you're cheating, why keep stringing Alan along? Wouldn't it be better for both of you to move on? What outdated news are you operating on? Shut up! Alan coldly snatched Mabel's phone and smashed it against the wall. The screen shattered instantly. Get out! Mabel's eyes immediately welled up with tears. She looked at Alan in disbelief. Crying, she turned and ran out. Only Alan and I were left in the living room. Who is he? He demanded through gritted teeth, his face dark. Alan had known Crispin longer than either of us had known him. By all rights, he shouldn't have failed to recognize him. Before Crispin's mother's incident, Crispin could even be considered one of Alan's closest mates in their social circle. After all, Alan loved his late-night racing and mountain climbing escapades. Not everyone would be up for that. But Crispin, though seemingly difficult to approach, was actually soft-hearted and easy to coax. The day his sister was forced to kneel before the illegitimate son, Crispin had come to Alan. Alan had given him some money, maintaining a perfect facade. Behind the scenes, he had already partnered with the powerful illegitimate son on a project. Sometimes, it's hard to see if a heart is cold or warm when there's a layer of skin in the way. Having grown up together, Crispin understood Alan's meaning. He never sought him out again. Their connection was severed from that point on. Plus, in the photo, Crispin was wearing sunglasses, making him harder to identify. My boyfriend, I admitted frankly. Break it off with him, and I can pretend nothing happened, Alan said, taking a deep breath. I'll deal with Mabel too. In the future, I cut him off. You and I have no future. Break it off with him for my sake? You must be out of your bloody mind. Alan's eyes reddened. That type clearly sells himself. Do you know how many women he's serviced behind your back? How am I inferior to him in any way? I listened to his accusations in silence. Suddenly, I understood something. Alan's inherent possessiveness and male chauvinism had always been there. The Flame Club incident was his test of my obedience. In his subconscious, he always believed I wouldn't betray him or our marriage. Using my morality as his bargaining chip. How despicable. He's taller than you, younger than you, better looking than you. And we're compatible both in and out of bed. As for you, I looked at Alan with disgust. To be honest, he was quite handsome too. With deep-set eyes and an inherently arrogant air, he was exactly my type back in high school when I was into bad boys. But now, I found his face utterly repulsive. You should consider getting a facelift. Otherwise, walking next to your little mistress. Those who know it's a sugar daddy relationship might think it's fine. But others might mistake her for taking care of her father. That old face of yours makes me sick to my stomach. Alan agreed to the divorce. I urged my assistant and the legal department to draft the agreement within 3 days. I couldn't wait to get it registered that very day. But Alan held on to the agreement, hesitating to sign. He made one request. That I live and eat with him for the 30-day cooling-off period before the divorce. Missing me already? I asked. I had just finished showering, my hair half dry. I was on a video call with Crispin. After Alan made his request, I thought for half a minute before agreeing. That same day, he signed the agreement, and we went to register for divorce at the court. A week had passed since then. The light on Crispin's end was dim, seemingly from a mood lamp. Not at all, he said coldly, his eyes downcast as he fiddled with something in his hand. Is that so? If you don't miss me, shall I hang up? I teased, a smile nearly spilling from my eyes. I loved this playful banter with him. It was thrilling. Crispin seemed to grunt, intentionally or not, bringing the object in his hand closer to the screen. It was. Your new toy has arrived. I didn't feeling the least bit embarrassed. My shoulders shook with laughter. Baby, it's your new toy, I corrected. Whose body it's used on determines whose it is. You're getting more and more adventurous, Crispin remarked. I was about to tease him some more when there was a knock on my bedroom door. Effie, I've made you a late-night snack, Alan's voice came through. Crispin raised an eyebrow. Aren't you lucky, getting midnight snacks delivered to your door? Would you rather have the snack or me? He asked, lowering his voice. My attention snapped back to him instantly. You, I replied without hesitation. Good girl, Crispin's eyes curved into a smile. Good lord, he was handsome. Like a sailor encountering an undefeated siren. Willingly seduced. Ready to sink into temptation. Although this house is currently in my name, I don't plan to continue living here in the future. Alan and I both own many properties. This one was supposed to be our marital home. Most of our good and bad memories are here. It's truly unsettling. I've started gradually moving some things out. Alan quickly noticed. Effie, the photos in the living room. Alan rushed upstairs, losing one of his slippers in the process. His gaze fell on the photograph I had cut into pieces in my hand. His voice trailed off. How could you? His throat tightened, and his eyes welled up. These were our photos, they belonged to both of us. How could you destroy them without saying a word? Why are you so upset? I frowned, slightly puzzled. They're just a few photos. Besides, you once let Mabel tear up our wedding photos that didn't have negatives. I thought you wouldn't care about these either. Our wedding photos were taken by a renowned photographer in the industry. Originally, we each had a set of negatives. Alan deleted his set of negatives to please Mabel. 6 months ago, that photographer passed away unexpectedly. Both sets of negatives were gone. Alan's face instantly turned pale. His hands, hanging by his sides, trembled almost imperceptibly. He stepped forward without a word. He took the pieces. I'm sorry, Effie, Alan said. Before leaving, Alan lowered his head, with a bitter smile. So this is how you felt back then? I'm sorry for making you so upset. The villa was nearly cleared out. I took everything I needed. All the couple items, photos, and ceramic dolls we made together I burned and threw them away. When Alan returned home, he saw the fragments scattered on the floor. He had completely lost his former composure. Half kneeling on the ground, he frantically tried to piece together the broken ceramic doll. "Why can't I put it back together?" he muttered. Of course, broken things can't be mended. The shards cut his fingers. Blood mixed with tears. When Alan looked up at me, his eyelashes were wet with tears. "Do you despise everything related to me so much? Why destroy it all? Can't you leave me even a single memento?" I remained silent, looking down at him from above, watching him lose control, watching him question me. "So this is how it feels." My silence was also an answer. Alan's voice gradually faded. He looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Nervous, fearful, grief-stricken. "You really don't want me anymore, do you?" After years of marriage, I understood Alan's intentions. When he proposed living together for the last month, he never took my request for divorce seriously. He thought I was just disappointed in him because of Mabel. He believed that by spending a month with me, reminding me of the days when we were in love, I would soften and regret my decision. He was calculating, and so was I. I didn't expose his delusion, but urged him to register that very day. 13 days left, I reminded him coldly, turning to leave. Alan seemed provoked by my attitude. That night, he climbed into my bed. "Effie," he said, grabbing my hand and placing it on his waist. He smiled, ingratiating and cautious. "I can do everything he can. You can do whatever you want to me. Please don't divorce me, all right?" I cursed under my breath, shoving him away forcefully. My expression management completely failed. Disgust evident in my face. "You want to climb into my bed? First, submit to my assistant your medical records from the past 3 days. Your whereabouts for the past 30 days. And medical reports of all the women you've slept with in the last 30 days. There was no chance I'd sleep with him. But if he was going to disgust me, I'd return the favor." Alan's face turned deathly pale. "You think I'm dirty?" he asked, his voice trembling in disbelief. I sneered and retorted, "Shouldn't I?" Alan regretted his decision. With only 10 days left until the divorce was finalized, he changed his mind. "Can we not get divorced? I'll end things with Mabel for good. We won't have any more of these messy situations disrupting our life together. I'll only set off fireworks for you from now on. Let's go traveling, shall we? You've always wanted to see the northern lights, haven't you?" I couldn't be bothered to waste words on him. From the moment he backtracked, I had already notified my legal team. This divorce was non-negotiable. Effie. Alan couldn't stop me as he watched me drag my suitcase towards the garage. In desperation, he grabbed my wrist. "You can do anything to me, just don't divorce me." His eyes were alarmingly red, and it took him several attempts to force a smile. "I won't question or interfere with you, and him. Can't he be your lover on the side? Just come home occasionally, whenever you think of me. That's all I ask." I yanked my hand free. My mind was filled with images of Crispin's dignified yet barely concealed affection. "He's not like you. He doesn't deserve to be mistreated." Alan looked as if he'd been stabbed in the heart, his breathing instantly becoming erratic. His chest heaved up and down, and he tried several times but couldn't utter a complete sentence. He seemed to be in extreme pain. I didn't want to stay a moment longer and turned to leave. I hadn't expected Alan to follow me. He took one of my cars and followed me to Crispin's residence. Because the car was registered, neither the security guard nor the system stopped him. By the time I finished taking a shower, there was a commotion downstairs. When I went down, both men had bruises on their faces. "That's my wife." Alan gritted his teeth. Crispin's gaze was cold enough to form icicles, and he retorted without backing down. "Not for much longer." The entire living room was in shambles. The carpet was crumpled into a heap, and the flowers I had chosen were trampled into withered twigs. The vase was shattered on the floor, and all the water in it had been poured over Crispin. Just one glance made me tremble with anger. Effie. Alan saw me and seemed at a loss. He appeared to have only just noticed the devastated state of the living room. It wasn't me, he started it, I swung my arm with all my might and slapped him hard across the face. Who do you think you are to pour water on him? This slap was purely to vent my anger, using every ounce of strength I had. Alan's face turned to the side from the impact, and a handprint instantly swelled up. He was stunned for a moment, then immediately burst into tears. You hit me for him? Effie, we've known each other for 13 years and been married for 7. You hit me for an outsider? He was extremely embarrassed and hurt. I first found a blanket to wrap around Crispin. Then I answered Alan's accusation. Do you know why I'm with him? I stared into his eyes and said sarcastically. I hadn't met Crispin many times. Only occasionally when I accompanied Alan to gatherings with his friends. Until after our marriage, when Alan took his mistress to a car race. I went to find him, but was trapped in the club's changing room by his mistress. She first had someone splash paint on my clothes, then tricked me into the changing room to change, and conveniently stole my phone. Of course, she hadn't prepared any replacement clothes for me. She was about to record me walking out in just my undergarments. I met Crispin in the changing room. He was startled for a moment, then took off his jacket and wrapped it around me. The people outside couldn't wait any longer and broke down the door. Crispin led me into a small cubicle. Our bodies were pressed close together. He spoke up to drive those people away and lent me his phone to call my assistant. Throughout the whole ordeal, he didn't say a single unnecessary word to me. Later, it was I who had impure thoughts. Knowing the Gallagher family was in trouble, I kept track of their movements. I stopped him before he jumped into the Thames. Come with me, and I'll help you and your sister reclaim what's rightfully yours. Even the entire Gallagher estate. With the agreement reached, we were destined to be entangled. Until death do us part. Please, stop. Alan's shoulders slumped as he looked at me pleadingly. Effie, I'm begging you, please stop. He couldn't accept that he had pushed me away with his own hands. Alan left. But not completely. His car remained parked outside my building all night. He told me he would be on time to get our divorce papers at the court. I checked the calendar every day, only breathing a sigh of relief. When I finally held the divorce certificate in my hands. At last, I didn't have to worry about any more complications. In a good mood, I arranged to have dinner with Frida, Crispin's sister. She's a very capable woman, growing faster than I had imagined. I admire her. When she learned that Crispin had sold himself to me for her sake, Frida came to confront me. At the time, I bluntly pointed out that she didn't even have the ability to protect herself. So there was no need to put on a strong front before me in an attempt to take Crispin away. In just a year, she had already gained control of most of the Gallagher family business. Divorced? Frida ordered Scotch broth for me. This restaurant was a place she frequented when she was down on her luck. And the food was indeed quite good. I nodded. It's hard for me to define the relationship between Frida and myself. We're both enemies and friends. And we have a mutual respect for each other. I reached into my pocket. Frida tapped the table, no smoking allowed here, mind your manners. I smiled and showed her the fruit candy in my hand. You quit? Frida looked surprised. I nodded, your brother doesn't like it. You two really are. After a few drinks, I asked Frida why she didn't insist on taking Crispin away later. Not to mention Frida's current position in the Gallagher family. Crispin's paintings now fetch sky-high prices, and he has quite a few shares and assets. He no longer needs to rely on me for his livelihood. I thought he would leave, or Frida would take him away. You think I didn't want to? She snorted heavily, her face full of exasperation. He was like a madman, insisting on staying. I told him then that you were too entangled with the Landor family. That it wouldn't be easy for you to get divorced. You know what he said? She imitated Crispin's cold manner as she spoke. If they don't divorce, then they don't. I'm young, I can wait. If I can't wait for their divorce, I'll wait for him to die. A week after our divorce, I saw Alan again. He came to discuss a business partnership. Keeping things strictly professional, I force myself to chat with him for the entire afternoon. The rest will be handled by others. You don't need to contact me, I said, glancing at my watch for the third time. Crispin was waiting for me to come home for dinner. Effie. Alan stopped me, handing me a file. What's this? I asked, puzzled. You said before climbing into your bed, one must submit health records and itinerary reports. Alan said with a smile. It's all here. Alan, we're divorced, I reminded him. I know. So now we're both single, he said, his voice low and slow. I can court you again. First of all, there's no chance for us, I stated firmly. Secondly, I have a boyfriend. I thought I'd be free from his obsession after the divorce, but he was still as mad as ever. I was utterly exhausted by it all. Alan was hurt by my bluntness but managed to maintain a smile. First, anything is possible, he countered. Second, the one who isn't loved is the other man. You're not married to him, and even if you were, you could still divorce. I don't need a title. I'll be whatever you want me to be. I can't let you go, Effie. I thought Alan was just talking, but he was serious. He sent flowers to my office every day. He pieced together those photos and ceramic dolls. He even set off an even grander fireworks display by the river. He was caught up in his own romantic gestures. I was beyond irritated. So I leaked his whereabouts to Mabel. During our divorce cooling-off period, Mabel had released photos of me and Crispin either to secure her position or for revenge. She had been so spoiled by Alan that she thought the world would always give her a free pass. Until evidence of her being the other woman. Provocative bedroom photos and recordings caused a huge scandal. Disciplinary action, dismissal. I also claimed compensation from her in the name of marital property. Mabel came from an ordinary family with a younger brother. Her parents cut ties with her, and relatives and friends were ashamed of her. Suddenly, her life hit rock bottom. Now she could only cling to Alan like a lifeline. Love-brained as she was, she initially wanted to win Alan back. Until Alan revealed the truth. She was just a plaything, he never intended to divorce me and marry her. Mabel couldn't accept such a disparity. She went mad. She drove her car towards Alan, intending to die with him. When the police contacted me, I learned that Alan's call to me was the last one he made before he died. At that time, I was curled up in Crispin's arms watching a film. The fatigue and warmth after satisfaction made me drowsy. I hung up on 2 unknown numbers in a row. Until the third call came through. Effie. Please don't hang up. After this call, I won't bother you anymore. How predictive. I sighed impatiently. What do you want to say? When we were 18 and watched the meteor shower. You said your wish was to be successful, to make everyone in the Archer family look up to you. You've achieved that. You've asked me for many years what wish I made that day. I never told you. At first, I wanted to tease you. Later, I felt guilty and didn't dare tell you. That day, I wished to share a bed with you in life and a grave in death, to be in love forever. His voice sounded strange. But overall, it seemed normal. I couldn't have imagined it was his dying words. Alan started crying as he spoke. I didn't say my wish out loud. Why didn't it come true? Finally, he asked me 2 questions. Effie, will you forgive me? I said no. He paused, then asked, will you remember me? I still said no. Leaving the past in the past is respect for the present. Those moments, whether bright or dim, I won't remember. After answering the police's questions, I adjusted my sitting position. Crispin had his arm around my waist, his finger adorned with the ring I had put there. Winter, a soft blanket, a heartwarming film, the cozy warmth, and my love. The feeling of happiness was almost overflowing. I looked at the small window decal Crispin had stuck on the window and said, "It's snowing." Crispin made a sound of agreement, squeezing my fingers, and unexpectedly confessed, "I love you." I mimicked his response with a sound. Before he could express any dissatisfaction, I spoke, "I love you too. Merry Christmas."